Trader. You can follow him on Twitter at JeffMax5490 of EliteSportsNewYork.com. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Paul, great to be back. How you doing this afternoon?
Well, I'm fantastic, and I'm glad we have more news to talk about. That's because, of course, the NFL Scouting Combine is here. The official on-field drills will begin on Friday. They'll work through the weekend, which should be a lot of fun for everyone involved. But Adam Gase and Mike Maccagnan, the head coach and GM of the Jets, respectively, spoke to the media earlier today. A lot of intrigue there. I guess just to start us off here in generalities, what was your big takeaway from that mini press conference there?
You know, I thought there were two very interesting press conferences out there today in Indianapolis. And I think it was a great sense of it brought a great sense of security to the New York Jets fan base. You know, many people were feeling a bit worried when Adam Gase came in. They weren't exactly, filled with confidence when Mike Maccagnan was invited to stay as well. But what I took away from today's press conferences is that these two guys have done their homework thus far, and they have looked firmly into the future. They've done their job in not just looking at the names that will be available in both the NFL draft and free agency. What they talked about a lot today was the acknowledgement that many of their guys are going to be free agents as well, because with this great financial power the Jets have this offseason, remember, they have over $100 million of cap space to spend. Geez, do not play the drink every time you hear that. We hear us say that phrase this offseason, because we're going to be saying that a lot. But with over $100 million in cap space to spend this offseason, everyone has talked about, are the Jets going to go after Le'Veon Bell? Are they going to go after Antonio Brown? Are they going to go after this guy and that guy? DeMarcus Lawrence has been another name that's been floating around. But many people have forgotten that the Jets have over 30 free agents, around 36 or 37 to be exact, 36 free agents of their own group that will hit free agency and likely test the market. So there's a lot of talk from both Maccagnan and Gase today about acknowledging how many guys that they have to look at, how many guys that will stick around for this potential rebirth of Jets football. And you know what? They gave a lot of compliments around, a lot of compliments these guys, really thanked them for their service a little bit, looking forward to work with them. Gase, you can tell already, has really done his homework with these guys so far. Guys who are within his building as is at this point. That's the takeaway I got from his presser anyway. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting offseason, and one that unofficially begins this week in Indianapolis.
Well, one thing that jumped out to me was something you usually don't see from Mike Maccagnan. He's very meticulous, very calculated, and he, when people ask him questions, it seems like he tries to keep his cards close to his vest. Mm-hmm. One thing he pointed to was of great intrigue, was talking about the trade up last year in kind of retrospect, yes, and that Giants pick, which was number 2 overall, one ahead of the Jets after they made the trade. And basically, Mike Maccagnan revealed that the Jets, if they would have moved up from 6 to 2, it would have cost them their 2019 first-round pick, which yes, obviously we see how high that would have been and is. And essentially, Mike Maccagnan said they did their homework, and by trading up to 3, they almost dared, and again, I'm paraphrasing with his words here, but they almost dared any other team to say, hey, trade up in front of us if you really want to get one of the top quarterbacks, because they felt pretty confident by doing their homework. They knew how much it would cost, and that another team would not be willing to pay that price, and obviously that calculated risk paid off on draft day. Most
certainly did, because another common theme of today's press conferences was the constant reminder that the Jets no longer have to, be looking for a quarterback in this draft. Maccagnan actually shared a funny story how he was saying how someone asked him about Daniel Jones, a thrower from Duke, and he talked about him during senior week, and he said something along the lines of, I've seen him throw, 3 passes this week? So the Jets are in a strong position where they no longer have to worry about quarterback. And you know what? That, like I keep saying, that is a move that could be mutually beneficial to both sides, because the Giants gain their once-in-a-lifetime athlete in Saquon Barkley. The Jets find the franchise quarterback that they've been searching since, Bob Dylan was topping the charts in the 60s. So I definitely think that this trade was going to be beneficial to both sides. And I definitely like this transparency from Mike Maccagnan. He wasn't fully, transparent today. He did play his cards a little close to the chest when talking about other topics, and, and obviously so, you don't want to give your entire strategy away, especially during Combine Week. But I definitely think that this is a good step forward for the Jets, and I definitely think that they're going to try to be busy in terms of trying to shop that 3rd overall pick to get back not only into the 2nd round, but to get some more picks in the process. Because remember, with that trade came a great sacrifice in that the Jets don't have a 2nd rounder in this year's draft. They need to get back in that. You need as many assets, as many things that you can bargain for and work with in this era of a franchise quarterback, because that's yet another thing they talked about. They wanted to surround Sam Darnold with weapons. They went on and on about how they're pleased with the progress Darnold made over his final 4 games last season. Of course, there was that Week 17 game, but over those final 4 games, you saw significant improvement from Darnold, especially coming back from an injury. Now, you have to worry about getting some weapons around him, and that's what they acknowledge, and that's what they have to do. They're pleased so far with the progress they've made. You know, they mentioned several times how pleased they were to bring Quincy Enunwa back on his extension, signed just before the Week 17 game in New England. But right now, that's just the first step. The Jets have many holes to plug if they're even going to be thinking about contention in moving forward.
And again, Jeff Magliochetti, Jeff Max 5490 on social media. Another thing that stood out to me was Albert Breer, NFL Insider, joined the Jets 360 program that's available on all their social media accounts with Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen. And Albert Breer joined them and said, he was also talking retrospect of the Sam Darnold deal, that the Jets had an aggressive mindset to move up in the draft to get a quarterback. He said that expect the Jets to have that same aggressive mindset to just the point you just made of trading back. And you can almost take some nuggets from that Mike Maccagnan presser about how the aggression there of finding a trade. And also, if you trade ahead of time like the Jets did, in theory, the price can be a little bit lower because no one was thinking about a draft day trade in March and what had happened last year. And he says once you get closer and closer to the draft, the price of the pick goes up and up and up. So perhaps the Jets will be just as aggressive as they were last year, and perhaps that may happen even closer to the draft so the Jets can maximize that capital.
And you know what? They very well should be aggressive. The earlier they get aggressive, the better, because like you said, they could get a bigger haul. And one thing that I think is going to throw, not exactly a monkey wrench, but it's going to make things, very interesting moving forward, is the decision of Kyler Murray. We talked about this, and, Kyler Murray is going to be one of the guys the Jets should definitely keep an eye on this week. Now, why should that be? I just said that, and Maccagnan Gase just said today that they have a franchise quarterback. They no longer have to worry about that, at least for the foreseeable future. But the NFL draft does weird things to teams in a way, because last season, look what the Jets did. It was a necessary move, but one that came at a huge price. And look what the San Diego Chargers did back during 1998. They traded away almost what felt like half their franchise just to draft Ryan Leaf. How did that work out for him? That's another story. But at the end of the day, this is a move that the Jets should look for. This is the guy the Jets should look at. Kyler Murray has made his decision. He's going to play football. Whether that works out for him remains to be seen. But they're definitely going to keep an eye on his pro days. They're going to keep an eye on him this week at the Combine, I believe. And I definitely think that teams are going to want to move forward just to ensure themselves the idea and the fact that they can take Murray so high. Because he's going to be a very intriguing prospect. He has a tremendous resume gained over at Oklahoma University this season, and I definitely think that the Jets are going to keep an eye on him to gauge other teams' interest in him. Remember, the Giants, they're going to be a team that's going to be looking for a quarterback, even though they assure you that Eli Manning is going to be back for next season. But Dave Gettleman's press conference was likewise interesting. He seemed to hint that the Giants were going to, very much do their homework with a quarterback in the first round of this year's draft. So, and you know what? The Giants-Jets rivalry, I think you could definitely put that aside, especially because you see each other, once every 4 years, including once this season. So I think you could definitely put that aside if you can work out a trade that will be mutual to both sides. Someone asked Mike Maccagnan today about what a trade with the Giants would be like, and Maccagnan didn't seem to hold any animosity toward the Giants. He basically said something along the lines of, Look, as long as we like the trade, we'll trade with anybody out there. So I definitely think that is something we should look at going forward. We should look at any potential progress at a trade with the Giants, and I definitely think we should look at the progress of Kyler Murray moving forward. Because you look around the NFL today, there are about maybe 4 or 6 teams out there, maybe let's call it 5, that do not have a name that would be, that they envision will be starting at quarterback for them 5 years from now. So I definitely think teams are going to move up. The NFL draft, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, makes teams do ridiculous things. Like we mentioned those examples. The Jets last year, the Chargers in 98. There's countless examples, but we only have a limited amount of time. So I definitely think the Jets should be aggressive trying to trade down for this pick to gain as many assets as possible in helping Darnold and helping this team prepare for the future. The earlier they get aggressive, the better off they will be moving forward.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Geoff, I want to thank you, as always, for joining us on the show. This is going to continue the level of intrigue. Again, free agency is March 13th. We'll get the legal tampering period just a few days before that. We'll have a lot to discuss here on the show, no question about it. Thank you, as always, man.
Paul, I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you, as always, for having me on. Keep up the great work.
Will do, and you do the same. Geoff Maccagnan, definitely worth a follow on social media at JeffMags5490 on Twitter. Quick time out. We'll get some confessor sins here on the show. Feel free to call in 315-671-1260. Catch the action.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.